All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Toast Time. We are recording this on January the 20th, 2021. It's Wednesday evening, about 8:10 p.m. I'm here, as always, with my co-host, my good buddy, Jackson Law. Jackson, how's it going today?
It's going good, man. In the full swing of sports, and it feels good. Although football's almost over, so that makes me kind of sad. But all the other sports are here, so I'll have something to bide my time until the fall again.
Yeah, I always go through that post-football depression for a little bit, but then right when that's happening, basketball starts picking up. So certainly got a lot to chew on this year. Thankfully, as we know, last year it was even worse because right after the Super Bowl, it was like COVID hit. We lost March Madness. We lost the NBA for like 2 months. Baseball was done for until the middle of the summer, so it was
Yeah,
like just
it
a
was such a depressing
drought.
time,
Oh, it was
which
terrible.
which is why the Last Dance probably did so good because it was just that little bit of sports, like a month into quarantine. We were all
Well,
just
we
dying for
needed
sports.
that. We needed that. Oh, thankfully they got that. They got that out, and we were able to enjoy that. But without further ado, we'll roll right into it. So my buttery pick this week is who I think is going to be the MVP this year, and my man Aaron Rodgers. And you know what? We're bringing back discount Aaron Rodgers discount double check. We're bringing back the discount double check because my man Aaron Rodgers not only did the Rams look like they weren't even in that game. Aaron Rodgers put them to sleep. Okay, the number one defense in the league, Aaron Rodgers was able to throw for like 288 passing yards. He pretty much was able to do whatever he wanted on offense, and he really just, I mean, that Rams defense was just like at a loss for what to do with him. I mean, Devontae Adams had a good game, even being matched up with Jalen Ramsey. That was a pretty good matchup to watch. Um, yeah, Aaron Rodgers just commanded that game, and I don't know. Me personally, I could tell from like midway through the first quarter, I'm like, oh, Aaron Rodgers ain't messing around. Like this is gonna be over quickly. As soon as Packers score their first touchdown, this game's gonna get ugly real quick. And that's pretty much what happened because they first traded field goals, and then they went down and Devontae Adams scored that touchdown uh, on that little little quick out that they had at the
Mhm.
goal line, and right from there, I mean, it was just a wrap. I mean, then the Rams on their part, they couldn't do a damn thing on the Packers defense. Everyone was talking about the Packers defense was bad at stopping the run. I mean, for the most part, they held Cam Akers in check, and then by the time you knew it, Jared Goff had to kind of try to air the ball out, which we all know won't work out because Jared
No.
Goff is terrible. Um, and on another buttery note, thank you, Aaron Rodgers, because you and your Packers won me a six leg 16 parlay with with $10 that I just had sitting in my account and won me back 1,100 bucks. So you know what? Thank you, Green Bay. Thank you, Aaron Rodgers. You're my buttery pick this week, and discount double check. Let's go get him.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to not, give that award or this honor that we bestow upon one player each week, to not give it to Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he was phenomenal. There's no other way to put it. It's prime Aaron Rodgers. This is why I've got them making it out of the NFC, and that's why I even doubled down and I've got them as my Super Bowl pick. I think the Packers, I think they take it home, and it's because Rodgers is playing good, but it's not just Rodgers too. He's got great weapons in Devontae Adams. Aaron Jones had a good day
Mm-hmm.
on the ground too, even though it's not super eye popping the numbers he had. He still had almost 100 yards in a touchdown. That's a phenomenal day on 14 carries. That's nuts. That's nuts. That shows me that this team is primed and ready, and that really there's nothing else they have to go into this week. And they've already seen the Bucks once. I'm sure Aaron Rodgers, when he figured out that there's the potential for a rematch with the Bucks, because the Bucks put the smackdown on the Packers way back when, that he's kind of licking his chops and he's thinking, all right, it's time to put the hurt down. And plus, he's got Brady and that taking him out of beautiful, sunny Tampa Bay, throwing him into Lambeau. It's not 60, 70,000 fans in there, but Green Bay's letting fans back into the stadium. You got something there. You got a home atmosphere, and it's supposed to be below 30 degrees and snowing on Sunday at Lambeau, which is it's just beautiful to see playoff football at Lambeau and it be snowing. Screw you, Kurt Warner. You were liked in my household because my dad liked you, and therefore I kind of liked you. But that was a soft take that you had about you, and Cowherd both had soft takes about the playoffs. So, but I'm gonna see. Like, I thought about Aaron, about giving mine to him, but I figured you were gonna do that, and so I had a backup just in case, just so that we could have some parity on the show. And I'm gonna go ahead and give my buttery pick to the Buffalo Bills defense. They did everything that they needed to do to contain Lamar Jackson, even though Lamar got hurt and eventually was out, only held Baltimore to 3 points. This is one of the highest scoring offenses in the history of the NFL over the past 3 years. Their point differential just continues to grow more and more. They are blowing teams out when it comes to the regular season. And, of course, we know how Lamar and this Ravens team has performed in the playoffs as of recent. Even with their playoff win last week, you could tell that as long as you could contain him, which is what the Bills defense did, then try to make him beat you with his arm. Doesn't have good enough receivers to really get open. I don't think he's too great of a thrower. He needs to improve a lot. So they were able to shut him down, really put pressure on him, sacked him for 3 times, had a total of 7 hits on him. It was basically, as good as you needed it to be from the Bills. And hopefully, for the Bills' sake, they come out, they're able to do the same thing this week against the Chiefs.
Yeah, that Bills defense really started to heat up about the last month of the season. Like, everyone knows they're not as good as they were last year, because last year the Bills defense was the strength of their team. Now this year it is undoubtedly the offense. But during that last month of the season, they really turned it up and they've carried it into the playoffs. And they've proven that they can turn it on when they have to. That pick six, can't remember the corner's name. Sorry about that. Can't remember.
Yeah, I forget his name too, but he's the one. I can look it up real quick, but he's the one that got took a football to the back of the head at the combine.
Oh, that guy.
A few years, but that's him. That is him. That's the man that picked off Lamar and took it 102 yards. Let's see if I can find his name real quick.
Oh man, you'll love to see stuff like
Taron Johnson.
Taron Johnson. There you go. He made a great play on that ball. And I think I remember I was watching the post game, and he was talking about how he was thinking about taking a knee in the end zone, and then looked to the right and seeing just green grass, and the only guy he's got to beat is Lamar Jackson, and he's like, "Oh, I'm taking this to the residence," and he took that all the way, 101 yards for the touchdown, and that basically put the Ravens out of the game. I mean, that just sucked the life out of them. That was really their best chance to get back in it, and after that, it was it was basically over.
And what was also great about it was, I talked crap about Cowherd just a second ago. At least sometimes, he gets some things right. Every so often, he'll say something good. The person that I disagree with the most out of all mainstream is Nick Wright. And Nick Wright made a bet with Cowherd that he fulfilled today, that he made a bet that the Bills, who Cowherd has really liked and thinks is going to get to the Super Bowl. I don't know if he's picked them to win the Super Bowl or not. And I know he's come down a little bit on the Bills because they don't really have a run game. But Nick Wright made a bet with Cowherd that if the Bills made it to the AFC Championship game, then on TV, he would have ketchup and mustard squirted all over him because there's a video of Bill's Mafia doing that to a dude. And so he did it today. He didn't do it live. I think he had his wife and his kids do it to him at, wherever house, apartment that they live at or whatever. But they showed it on live TV today. And that was the only reason why I turned into the herd, was so that way I could watch that. So that made me happy to see Nick Wright get what he got.
Yeah, it's always nice to see when these sports analysts when they're dead wrong about something, and then they hold up to a bet like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's always warms my heart a little bit. But so for my burnt toast this week, we actually just mentioned him a little bit. Lamar Jackson. Now, Lamar Jackson yet again showed that when teams when teams contain him well and don't let him run, and their designed runs aren't working, when you contain Lamar Jackson, you basically contain the entire offense. And that's a really big issue, because in the NFL, yeah, those, running quarterbacks and super athletic quarterbacks, okay, there's a place for them in the NFL, but you have to have an arm to go with your legs, especially when your legs start leaving you, which I'm not saying Lamar Jackson's legs are leaving him, because he's still, quick as lightning. I mean, we saw last week with the Titans. It was like he took a quick step. Next thing you know, he's got open field, and I feel like he scored a touchdown in half a second. He was gone.
Mm-hmm.
But see, the problem with Lamar Jackson is he can't make he can make easy to somewhat difficult throws. He can't make like the really difficult throws, like the pro level throws, where throw in between the numbers and the sideline. He's really not that great at throwing the deep ball. Like, he doesn't have too good of a deep ball accuracy. He's not really a pocket passer, but you know what? I mean, like, it's okay to not be a true pocket passer when you're that athletic, and you don't necessarily need to be in the pocket to make these types of passes. But the problem is, you should have that ability. And I'm not even saying all the blame should be on Lamar Jackson. I mean, look at what's around him. I mean, seriously, you got Mark Andrews, who's a good tight end, no doubt. But the problem is, he's really your only real threat on that team, and he's your tight end. I mean, that really can't happen. Like, you could look at Travis Kelce. Why does Travis Kelce do so good? Travis Kelce does so good because not only does he have Patrick Mahomes, but he's got Tyreek Hill on the other side of the field, and you really can't pay all the attention to either one of those guys. Otherwise, the other one's just going to kill you. It's the same thing could be said with Juju Smith and AB when they were together, which is why Juju Smith-Schuster did well when he was with AB and not so much afterwards. But you got Mark Andrews, can't be your only threat. Marquise Brown hasn't turned into a real wide receiver. He's just a go deep and hope for the best type of receiver. He hasn't really developed a route tree. I mean, when you watch some of these games, when corners play press coverage on him, he can't get off the line. He can't get off the line of scrimmage. Like, it's bad. Like, he's an undersized receiver that, you need to get him to develop a real route tree. And then after him, it's a bunch of, who the hell is that guy at wide receiver for the Ravens? I mean, not for nothing, but I can't sit here and blame Lamar Jackson completely, because it's really not his fault. They need to get him real receivers. Like, he's not Patrick Mahomes, and he's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not going to make a whole bunch of receivers better. You got to bring receivers in that'll make him better. I mean, look at Josh Allen, and look at what happened with him when they got Stephon Diggs on that team. All of a sudden, Josh Allen goes from an inaccurate quarterback who is athletic and strong and can, he can take off and run and bulldoze people, but he doesn't really have that great of an arm. Now this year, he rose his completion percentage by almost 10%. Like, now it's almost in the mid 60s, and he's looked worlds better than what he did last year and the year before. I don't even think anyone expected this type of progress from him this quickly. But it all comes down to what's around you. I mean, young quarterbacks need weapons. You know, they're not savvy vets. I mean, Patrick Mahomes didn't even know how to read defenses until last year, which I think is absolutely insane that he didn't know how to read defenses
Yeah, wins an
until this year.
MVP, wins a Super Bowl, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm still learning how to read
He
defenses."
goes, "Yeah, I really don't even know how to read defenses that well." Like, okay, like, all right, Mr. Golden Boy,
Whatever.
we got you. But Lamar Jackson, man, he's my burnt toast this week. But it really should just be the Ravens organization, because they need to surround this guy with talent. I mean, I kind of feel bad for him because he gets like literally all of the criticism, but you got to look around him, and there's not much. There's really not much.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. You know, it sucks to be Trey right now because his favorite team is stuck between a
Yeah.
rock and a hard place,
Yeah.
because they're gonna have to. I mean, as much as like we would say, you know, probably don't pay Lamar top dollar, they're gonna have to, because he's gonna demand it. There's not gonna be another option out there, and he's an MVP. You can't take away the MVP away from him, whether or not you think he's, you know, going to be the greatest quarterback of all time, or that he may fizzle away. And yeah, he needs better receivers around him. He needs better play calling around him. I'm not necessarily laying that at the feet of Harbaugh, but just as the team and the coaching staff as a whole, it's hard to win when they're not necessarily putting you in a position to succeed, and they're running these gimmicky plays, this gimmicky offense that if teams don't, you know, really know how to figure out, then yeah, it succeeds well. But as soon as they figure out, you got to switch it up. That's why the Wildcat only lived one season in the NFL.
Mhm.
Dolphins had a great year because one of their coordinators came over from the University of Arkansas, where the Wildcat was being run in college, did it to great success, came over, ran it in Miami, and that was one of Miami's most successful seasons. Then you started seeing a little bit of Wildcat pop in, but you don't really see the Wildcat much anymore ever since even the season after that. And it's because teams figured out how to guard it. Teams figured out defenses, learned how to adapt to it, as they always do. Someone's going to figure it out, and then everyone's going to copy what that person does. So it's a tough position for Baltimore to be in. And this is probably a good draft to go get him some weapons. There's a lot of receivers in this draft, or even if you're picking late, like assuming that the Ravens are, you could still find a pretty good solid wide receiver choice. Now, mine is also a quarterback, and we have also already talked about him a little bit, and that is going to be Mr. Jared Goff. Now, Jared Goff, I'm tired of hearing about this man. It's starting to get to the point where even his own team looks like they're questioning whether or not this guy can lead them back to the Super Bowl. And it has nothing to do with the fact of his injured hand. Okay. That is a just temporary excuse that Los Angeles Rams defenders of Jared Goff, because they have to defend him because, you know, they were proclaiming him one of the, you know, a top quarterback in the league just a few years ago. It's just an excuse that they're going to use to try to convince themselves, not even necessarily you, just themselves. They're just trying to convince themselves that Jared Goff is still the real deal, when he's just not. 27 of 21, yeah, that's a good completion percentage, but only 174 yards. Also took 4 sacks for almost 30 yards. You can't have that. Like you just can't. It looks like a good stat line, but it honestly isn't. The offense is not finishing when they get onto the opposing side of the field. When they get inside the red zone, they're not finishing. He's not making the throws that he needs to. And I'm tired. I'm tired of hearing it. I'm tired of talking about Jared Goff. Although as long as he starts, then I've probably got an easy picking for a segment on this show. And I'm always welcome to that. People want to be stupid and play terrible quarterbacks or terrible players to make my job easier, then hey, I'm all for it. but the Rams are kind of in a similar position. They had an okay season, and they're just kind of stuck because they owe him a lot of money, you know. And I don't know where they go from here. They did good enough, like we said, to make the playoffs, but when they start facing real competition, he's not going to be good enough.
Mhm.
So I don't know where they go from here.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Jared Goff, it's funny because if you remember back to the most boring Super Bowl in NFL history, Rams Patriots
God.
2018, or I don't even know what year that was, 2018, 2019, something like that. During that year, when the Rams basically had themselves a super team, for lack of a better term, they really had a super team. They had just all stars on defense. The wide receivers, the running back Todd Gurley was, that was as good as he'll ever get because of his arthritic knees.
Mm-hmm.
Jared Goff was having a pretty decent season. If you remember, he even had that there was a really good game in there when they played the Chiefs, and the final score was like 51-49. It was like touchdowns were left.
Mm-hmm.
It was like you were at an episode of Oprah. You get a touchdown. You get a touchdown. You get a touchdown. It was it was like stuff like that. Made Sean McVay look really good and made Jared Goff look really good. See, the problem has been now they paid him. Once you pay guys like that, then it becomes you got to make other people better because we can't afford to have, all these superstars on your team. Has he made anyone better? No, he can't even make himself better. He is just not, he's absolutely not the guy. That was a terrible contract that they gave him. They're paying him way too much money. They really need to look in other directions. Now, obviously, they're tied up with him. And as long as the Rams have Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, they're going to be making the playoffs. That defense is really good, and they got both those guys for, a decent amount of time, at least for their primes. So as long as you got those guys on defense, you're going to make the playoffs because, listen, great defenses will always win in this league, but you have to have a competent offense to win the Super Bowl, which I think with Jared Goff, they do not have a competent offense at all. He really just holds them back. And honestly, he holds Sean McVay back because Sean McVay could, really do some great things with somebody that, actually had some skill, unlike Jared Goff, who kind of just lucked into this contract. But we talk about Jared Goff a lot on this show, and honestly, I really don't mind. If they're going to keep trotting him out there week after week. I mean, listen, it should be – I think I mentioned this last week. It should be a red flag to not only Jared Goff, but the Rams organization and the front office that Sean McVay knew Jared Goff was healthy enough to play in the Seattle game, but still started John Wolford. Like, come on. That's bad. That's horrible. Your head coach knew he was healthy enough to play, but goes, I think I'm going to go with the guy that was just in the AAF last year. I think I'll go with my man Wolford.
The AAF touchdown leader, career leading touchdown throws.
He has reached the unreachable star, as nobody can ever get to that again because
first man inducted into the AAF Hall of Fame.
The only man inducted into the AAF Hall of Fame, and the last man inducted.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. But yeah, Jared Goff, I can't wait till you go, just because I'm tired of talking about you. I'm also tired of the media not exposing you. For some reason, Jared Goff just never gets talked about except for us at Vendetta. We're the only ones that talk about this man. Don't know why. But hey, is what it is. We're smart. I guess everyone else is just dumb.
Absolutely. It's a simple answer.
Yeah, pretty much. So for my extra crispy, we're going to move into the NBA. And this actually came to my attention last night when I was scrolling through Twitter and saw a really funny video this man, Blake Griffin, who is just robbing the Detroit Pistons blind at this point. And I sent this video to my friend who lives in Detroit. He's a Detroit everything fan. So he's just been in sports depression for his entire life, to be honest. Outside of the one finals that the Pistons won in the mid 2000s. It was the home announcer for the Pistons broadcast was for like 2 minutes straight just ripping Blake Griffin nonstop. He's like, oh man, he's like, Blake Griffin's really an afterthought at this point. He goes, I don't know what happened. He went from athletic dunking. He hasn't really developed any skills in the post, and now he's just a spot up shooter. And he only took 3 shots in that first half. He's like, I don't even know why he's on the floor right now. Like Blake Griffin, it's bad.
Brutal.
And if you look, I mean, like I've looked at it. His stats, he hasn't dunked. He hasn't had one dunk this year.
Really?
He hasn't had a single dunk yet. You know how bad that? You know how terrible that is.
Mr. Lob City himself. At least DeAndre Jordan is still yamming it.
Yeah,
Brooklyn.
Like, it's crazy. He was basically the foundation of Lob City, and he hasn't dunked the ball in well over 10 games now. Like. That's just insane to think of. And it's true. Like if you go and like watch like some Pistons games, which I know nobody does, but just on the off chance that you happen to see them on your TV, like on the off chance I see them playing the Knicks or something, or the Nets, and I can watch it here in New York. I'm watching Blake Griffin and he's like hoisting up threes like he's Steph Curry or something. It's like, it's crazy. I'm like, get down low. You're a forward. Like go into the paint and work on some post moves. Do something. It's just guys like him who are super athletic. You have to develop post skills, because if you don't develop your post skills, your athleticism will leave you eventually, and you can't rely on that forever. That's exactly what's happened with him. He's developed no post skills to think of. His footwork is just awful. He's just resorted to just spot up threes. And I mean, if I'm the coach of the Pistons and the front office, do I really want Blake Griffin shooting threes on my team all the time? Like, you're supposed to be down low, dunking on, I mean, maybe not dunking on people still, but you're supposed to be, posting and toasting, barbecue chicken. Come on, man. You're Blake Griffin, you're extra crispy. Since I'm a Laker fan, I never liked you when you were on the Clippers. I hated you, and you know what? I can't say I'm too angry at what's happened to you since.
Yeah, there's just from him being a Clipper, there's a lot of Grizzlies fans that are happy to see this man fail, because the Grizzlies and the Clippers, a lot of tough battles in the playoffs and years past. Zebo, Tony Allen getting tangled up, ready to throw hands with Blake Griffin, and I'm taking Zebo in a fight every day. This is a man that stood up to DeMarcus Cousins and says, "In my hood, bullies get bullied." He is Zebo was a great man. I miss that man every day when I watch a Grizz game. But yeah, it's incredible. I've got a friend that's also Detroit sports everything. And yeah, it's a depressing timeline. If you ever get, like, if you see something, you see a thread on Twitter of some Detroit fans talking, then yes, it's the normal depression that they all normally go through, but now Blake Griffin's name is involved, and it's not, he's not the bastion of hope anymore. Which of course their rookie Killian Hayes, I saw today, is also out like 6 to 8 weeks with an injury. So I don't know who chooses to be a Detroit fan. You've got to be born into it, because if you choose to be a Detroit fan, then you have chosen the worst sporting fan base to be a part of. Not from a sense that they're like, cocky and terrible and whatnot, but just because their teams suck.
Like,
there's no other way around it.
you know what? I got to give them one thing. At least they're consistent because every single franchise in Detroit is just incompetent and never amounts to anything. Like you go up and down the line. The Red the Red Wings for a while in hockey were okay, but now they are just absolutely horrendous. The Pistons haven't been even close to relevant since 2004. Do we even have to talk about the Lions? I mean, they wasted Calvin
No.
Johnson's career. Come on. And the Detroit Tigers managed to not win a World Series with Melky Cabrera in his prime and Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer at the top of their pitching staff. I mean, it. I feel bad for them. I really feel bad for people that live in Detroit. I really do. Because you know what's even crazier? Just about the Tigers, at least. I'll get just real quick. Not only did they not win a World Series with either of them while they were in their prime, traded both of them and watched both of those guys late into their careers both win World Series on different teams.
Oh, yeah, and that friend, I went to high school with him too, and he was a big Detroit, he's a big Detroit fan. So, yeah, when the Tigers played the Cardinals in the World Series, Cardinals are really big where I'm at.
Yeah,
Felt
I would
felt kind of
imagine.
bad for him because obviously he's got to represent for his squad. Everyone else is representing for the Cardinals, and the Cardinals end up winning that series. And so, yeah, that was not a fun time at school for him. When we started back up and the World Series was going on. Yeah, man. Even I joined in on a little bit of the teasing, some just because he's a friend. And I used to follow the Cardinals big back in the day. I really don't anymore. I could name a few guys on the roster, but it's not like I have their baseball cards like I
Yeah.
used to. Anyway, that's a talk for another time. So my burnt. I'm also going to go with the NBA, but I'm not going after one player. I'm just kind of going after the NBA in general, just as a fan. And it is that they need to get, which is odd for this to say, because they like perfected the process with the bubble, but they need to get their COVID situation under control before something really bad happens to the season.
Hmm.
And I know it's tough because you don't want to dictate people on how to live their life, and you don't want to restrict these guys. They're a lot of them are young kids, 19 to 24 years old, more money than they know what to do with. And so obviously they want to go out and they want to have fun. They're traveling to different cities. That's hard to tell someone, that plays in Utah for, half a season that, one night they're in LA to not go out and enjoy LA. Instead before they go back home and spend in Utah, or, you don't want to, hang out and go to the big clubs in New York and stuff like that. But it's a different world right now. It's not a normal world. So you have to be careful. I think they said tonight with the Grizzlies and Portland, their game being postponed, it was the 18th game already that's been postponed this season. Like, that's nuts. And it's starting to get to the point now where unless you are on the court playing against each other, there can be no interactions between the two sides. And the reason why the Grizzlies and the Trailblazers game got shut down tonight was because it was on the Grizzlies side. It was contact tracing. So someone tested positive. And that makes sense because Karl Anthony Towns tested positive after the Grizzlies played the Timberwolves. But the NBA went ahead with Memphis playing in the MLK day games, and because they wanted MLK money, and Memphis, of course, is huge in the story of MLK.
Mm-hmm.
The Lorraine Motel is there. The Civil Rights Museum is there. That is obvious where ultimately and unfortunately MLK was assassinated. So Memphis is a huge part in the story of the civil rights movement and Dr. King's life and legacy. And obviously, it's the only reason why Memphis gets a televised basketball game every year, unless they make the playoffs, is because they get the MLK Day game on TNT every single year. But it's just it just doesn't make any sense to me because they just got to figure something out. Because I don't want the season to be canceled again. Because if this season if this season gets postponed, then I don't know. I don't know what they do, to be quite honest, because it's not like we're so far advanced in the year that we can do like last year, where we just eliminate a couple of teams that are out of contention, put some people in a bubble, and the bubble was hard for some people. They were away from families for a long time. That thing didn't end until
Until like October.
yeah, October. Yeah, so like
Yeah,
the
September, October. Yeah, I think October.
yeah, and so you have like the Lakers, were away from their families for a long time. Some of them didn't even really make the trip down there when they were able to, and they had the like a few week training camp. So I don't know if a bubble is going to be a viable option in the future for them. And I don't have all the answers, but the NFL seemed to do a great job, and there's a lot more personnel
Yeah.
involved with the NFL. Outside of a couple of instances, no games were postponed, which you also have the benefit of a week in between each game. So, who knows? Maybe you got like a false positive and you don't have to cancel the game that night. You can wait a couple days and see if that person gets better. You have a lot more time to study the contact tracing of someone that has tested positive, who's been around them. And also sometimes, personnel, they're not really around each other too much, which is why, like, for instance, the Saints, all the running backs were out, but no one else was.
Mhm.
And it's because it was just one of their coaches and then all of the running backs together. They all were exposed to COVID, so they all had to sit. But something's got to be done. Something's got to be figured out. And again, it's tough to put restrictions on young kids or veterans or these players that go out there, play basketball, and make you, the league, and you, the owners, a ton of money and make you all super, super rich men. But at the same time, the only way you get rich is if you have a season. You're not going to have a season if everybody's getting COVID and you got to shut it down. And also, at the same time, it's like any other work environment when you boil it down. Everyone else has had to take extra steps, extra precautions. We got to do things. You work in a butcher shop, so you can't just go willy-nilly anywhere.
Mhm.
You got to stay at home, and if you go hang out with people, you got to make sure they've been staying at home. You got to take all these extra precautions. Everyone across the country has had to do it. Everyone across the world has had to do it. And I don't know, man. I don't know. I just think the NBA needs to figure something else out before the season gets postponed or just outright canceled.
Yeah. Like, obviously, I'm not a doctor. But that said, the NBA, they really do need to get something done. I mean, the bubble worked tremendously. There was not a single positive test within the bubble the entire time the teams were there. The problem is you really can't ask them to do that again, because the first time around it was already, a lot for people. And a lot of teams, like, I know the Lakers and the Clippers, I mean, for other reasons other than just COVID, which I understand. They didn't want to even play. They didn't want to continue playing, but they decided to anyway because the rest of the league was like, nah, we're going to finish the playoffs. But if you look at the NFL, they haven't really had any COVID problems for quite a while. Like, I haven't heard really about anything since, I mean, I don't know, when the Ravens had their problems and the Ravens were like down basically their entire team that week when they played the Steelers in November. In November. That was probably the last time I heard about anybody really having a COVID problem in the NFL. And the NBA needs to get something done. I don't know what. I mean, they already instilled harsher protocols, and I mean, whether I know you don't want to tell anybody what to do, but maybe you might just have to like sit these guys down, especially the young kids, and be like, listen, you're just gonna have to eat it for a year, like all like as far as I'm seeing and reading that, like, next year by this time, life should be pretty much back to normal with the vaccine going around. Now, I don't know if they want to do something where they go and get vaccines and vaccinate the entire league, although that's still kind of messed up because at the same time, we just got them out, and there's already a problem with getting them to people that really need it, like the elderly, essential workers. Like I'll give an example. I live here in New York. I'm categorized as an essential worker. I haven't been able to get an appointment for a vaccine because it is in extremely high demand, and there's not as much of them as you would think. So it's almost impossible right now for me to get a vaccine. I'm probably looking at like more towards the springtime, probably after the spring is when I'll be able to get one. Like I can't get one right now at all. So I don't know what they could do. I would just suggest maybe you got to tell these guys, sit them down, like, listen, you guys really can't be going out. Just eat it for a year. It really isn't, it's not going to be that bad. Next season, we'll get you guys can do whatever you want, or even when maybe they get to the point where they can give them vaccines, and then at that point, do whatever you want. But yeah, whatever they need to do it, quickly, because as you said, 18 postponements and little over 3-4 weeks of the season is really
not even a month in. Not even a month in. Started just before Christmas, basically almost a month. If you're counting strictly numerical days, because this is about the time. What was it, like the 22nd, the 23rd is when we had?
I think they started the
first game,
22nd or 23rd. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, definitely got to fix that up a little bit, but move on here to next category. My soggy toast this week. We're gonna give this guy a nice salute. I'm not gonna talk too much crap about him because I did earlier in the year, and you know what? At this point, I kind of just feel bad for the guy. My soggy toast this week is Drew Brees, whose shoulder pretty much looks like a big pot of pulled pork at this point. You could see that playoff game. He just didn't have it anymore. I mean, he tried his best. I mean, you could even look at the Bears game. In my opinion, Drew Brees from 3 years ago would have blew that Bears team out the water. That score would have been 40-9. They would have blown them out the water, but going up against the Bucs, it just proved too much for him to really do. I don't really want to talk too much about that game, but you can't really blame it all on him. I mean, Jared Cook goes and just gets hit right in the shoulder pads with a ball and just pops up for an interception. I mean, like, that's not his fault at all. But, Michael Thomas, no catches with 4 targets. That was a problem. They just got shut down altogether. But Drew Brees is done. I think he's retiring, especially after the game. I don't know if you saw that little video where him and Tom Brady were out on the field after the game, like talking it up with the family. I think I said this last week. Drew Brees is probably, I think, one of 5 NFL players I've ever met in my life. So I don't know. It's pretty cool to me to see this guy play every week. But I think it's about time that it ends. I tell you what, that game against the Rams, that NFC Championship game against the Rams, where that egregious pass interference was not called, that was probably his only chance to make it back to a Super Bowl. And after that, it was kind of just over. I mean, listen, you got to feel bad. You got to feel bad for Drew Brees too. Think about that. You had that egregious pass interference call. You had the Minneapolis Miracle happen on you.
Yeah.
And then you lost to the Vikings again last year. That's man. I feel bad for the man. I mean, he just had absolute. His heart, like the Saints' hearts being ripped out of their chest every single year, over again. But undoubtedly will be a Hall of Fame career for Drew Brees.
Oh, absolutely. He's first ballot.
Ballot, all-time leader in passing yards. Got a Super Bowl to his name. Actually made the Saints, who were a terrible losing franchise, really turned them into one of the better franchises in the NFL nowadays. I mean, there's really not much else to say, but like, also this man is he's Mr. New Orleans. Like, he's the Tyrann Mathieu, I think, said it best, was Drew Brees is the heart and soul of that city. For what he did after Hurricane Katrina, just he really brought like spirit back to that city,
Mhm.
and got them a Super Bowl. So hats off to Drew Brees. It's been a great career, but I think it's about time he hung it up.
Could have been the king of Miami if Saban and those doctors, just would have. Oh,
I forgot this is a touchy subject for you, Jeff.
Man,
Yeah,
I love Brees as a quarterback, man, and I of course don't blame him. It's just he had that injury, and yeah, man, just the Dolphins just like, nah, we're good. We're gonna go sign Dante Culpepper. We like him.
Yeah, we're not
What's
sure
he
how
doing
we're not sure how that shoulder's gonna hold up 17 years later.
For real? One Super Bowl, 80,000 yards, and however many touchdowns later.
I think almost like 600 touchdowns later. I mean,
Yeah. See, we knew we would give up. We knew it would.
just
When
just
you're
weren't
40, when you're 43 in the playoffs, 2021. But yeah, I agree. I think he's done. You mentioned the video where he's out there with his family, chilling with Brady. They're just chatting it up. Two legends just chatting it up together one last time, probably. And then, of course, you have the one where he's running off the field and he looks back, and takes that one last look back at the fans in the field and runs to the locker room. It's sad. It's sad. This is a dude. I've said it on here before. I've said it other places before. It's sad because we're finally starting to get to the point where it's people that have been in professional sports for my entire life starting to fade out. And specifically talking about the NFL, started with Peyton and then Eli, and then this year it's going to be it's Philip and it's Drew.
Yep.
And somehow Brady's outlasting everybody.
It's unbelievable. He started
Yeah.
before almost all of them, and has lasted the longest. And
he's won more than all of them,
one
combined.
more than all of them combined. And the crazy part is he's not even done after this year, because I could see Brady playing like another 2 years. Every time I say this guy's washed, he just goes out and has like a 40-5 season.
Good old Big Ben. He's the last man from 04.
Yeah,
still standing.
Last of that 04 draft class.
Yeah. Mine, I'm going to go back to the NBA here with my soggy toast. And it's just a player that's just been so disappointing. The decline kind of started in the playoffs last season. And and I'm going with Pascal Siakam on this one. He's just not been great. I mean, his stats this year are just kind of okay, around 19 points a game. But he's averaging almost 3 turnovers, around 8 rebounds and 5 assists. It's okay. It's just not where he was at. It's not like the leap that he took the year he won Most Improved, or how he was last season, where he was really blossoming into this star. It's just, I don't know, man. It's just like he seems to have starting to fall off a cliff, which is weird to say, that averaging almost 20 points a game, you're falling off a cliff. But this is supposed to be one of the best players, if not the best player, and he's getting he's getting showed up by Boucher in Toronto, who's had like 7 blocks in 7 minutes like last week. Like, that guy is insane. And kudos to the Raptors organization for having a great coaching staff and G League team where they just continue to seem to find diamonds in the rough to keep them relevant. But Spicy P, man,
Spicy.
He's like he's mild P now. He's mild P. He's not spicy anymore.
Yeah, Pascal Siakam, he is not. Didn't he get a max contract like last year, or am I thinking of someone else on the Raptors? I could have sworn it was him. He got paid. One of them got paid. I think it was Siakam. I think after Kawhi left, he got paid.
Yeah, in 2019, he got a 4-year, $130 million extension. Yeah.
Yeah, robbing them blind. Sorry, but robbing them blind. Not worth $130 million a year. was a very, very solid piece next to Kawhi and Kyle Lowry. But the problem is, and it always seems to be this way with the guys like this, they go off when they have a great team around them. Now, let me see how you do when you don't have one of the top 3 best players in the world on your team. And what he's shown me is he's not the guy that can carry a team. Even playoffs last year, he couldn't carry the Raptors. Yeah, they did okay, but he really couldn't carry them. He was stinking up the joint during that bubble series with the Celtics. I mean, it was just awful what he was doing.
And he's not shooting efficient this year either. He's having career lows with an increased usage in field goal percentage and 3-point percentage. And like it's like he barely even shoots 3-pointers anymore. When he does, he misses them. But when he drives to the lane, he just dribbles and spins and throws something up. And a lot of times he misses it.
That reminds me of Julius Randle last year. Although I can't really.
He's fallen this year.
I've come back. Oh man, you should have seen me. You should have seen me last year. I just was constantly making fun of Julius Randle every day. This guy would just go, you get the ball, dribble all the way up the court, spin move right into a triple team, and get the ball ripped out of his hands. But I can't say nothing this year because the dude's been killing it. But you know what? Whatever. Good for him. At this point, I just feel bad for the Knicks. So like, if they got anything to be proud about, please go ahead. I'm not even mad at them no more.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Pascal Siakam, he is just not that great. He's not that great of a player, in my opinion. Not really worth 130 mil. He should have taken leaps and bounds since Kawhi left, and he has not done that. He's actually regressed, which is a really bad thing to see. So it'll be really interesting to see what the Raptors do with him. Maybe he turns it around at some point, but it's going to have to be soon because, the Raptors ain't going to wait on you forever. I'll tell you that much.
No, and the Raptors they're below 500, so they're not looking too great, which is kind of the NBA. When you look at the records all around, it looks like you'd think everyone sucks from the records. It's crazy.
Listen, I'll tell you this. If you got a worse record than the Knicks, you should really look yourself in the mirror.
Well, I'm a Grizzlies fan, so we're in the middle of a rebuild. But we're 7-6 though. We're 7-6.
Yeah. No. Hey, you're over 500 early in the season. As long as you're over 500, you're in good position. Not everyone could be like the Lakers who are like 11-4, but it's okay.
Yeah, it's funny. Well, when you got LeBron on your team, you're guaranteed at least the number 1 or 2 playoff spot.
Oh, without a doubt. And
a spot in the title.
Have the off season that we had, which I wasn't even expecting. Like Rob Pelinka just pulled that one right.
Pulling money out of your butts. Like,
yeah,
that didn't even make
he pulled the rabbit out of a hat on that one because I was not expecting any of the moves he made this off season.
Kind of luxury tax, whatever. Just sign the check.
Good, I love it because that's what my old owner for the Yankees, George Steinbrenner, would have done. He said, luxury tax, I don't care. Get him. He wants $300 million. I do not care. Give it to him. That's the type of stuff I like to see. Moving on to a more serious note, my toast of the week. Now, Jackson, I'm sure you heard about this, even though you don't really follow baseball too well. I'm sure you heard about this. Former Mets general manager Jared Porter. Okay. I had to talk about this. Just because team is from my city and what he did was just horrible and speaks to bigger issues within this industry, but I'll try to touch it on as much as I can. So Jared Porter, when he was working for the Chicago Cubs, there was a female reporter that he was sending text messages to like nonstop. So I think the report was like somewhere over 60 plus text messages he would send her. And she wouldn't answer because, I mean, she just is a professional and wants to just go to work and not be harassed by somebody in the Chicago Cubs front office. And then Jared Porter decides to go and send her an explicit text message, which I'm not going to tell you what it was, but you can imagine if you would want to. Um,
I
so
don't. I don't want
yeah,
to picture that.
yeah, not even do I. So Jared Porter then he sends this message, and somehow I don't really know how this was kept under wraps for a while. So and also kept under wraps so well that he was actually able to go and get a general manager job. Then it comes out, which I like the Mets. What the Mets did swiftly fired him right on the spot.
Mhm.
Steve Cohen went on Twitter and was like, "This is there is no tolerance for things like this.
Yeah.
You're out." And that's absolutely 110% what they should have done. And Jared Porter absolutely needs to go and reevaluate his life. Now, in the world we live in today, especially in sports, hate to say it, but it is the truth right now. If you can do your job, you'll probably get a second chance. Don't really know if this deserves a second chance. Probably not, because we've seen stuff like this and guys really don't get second chances on it. So, not too sure what's going to happen with this, but the Mets did the right thing, and also speaks to a bigger problem within this industry where women reporters and sports journalists, they just they always get like the short end of the stick. And even a bigger story surrounding this is over at ESPN. For some reason, the female reporter that really got all this information on Jared Porter, she's the one who basically put all this together, found all this stuff out. Then ESPN made her give credit to the senior baseball writer over there, Jeff Passan,
Mhm.
which I think is terribly wrong. That is horribly wrong. I'm sorry. She did all the legwork. She found out this, you know, really eye-opening story. She should get all the credit, and she didn't. So much that she didn't get any of the credit. I didn't see her name anywhere. That's why I'm calling her she, because I didn't see her name. I don't even know her name. That's terrible. It is honestly horrible what they did. And then you got Jeff Passan going on Twitter crying. I don't know. He's just like so weird. Like, I'm sorry, man, but like, you know what? You need to like really reevaluate what's going on over there. I mean,
Mhm.
if I was in that position, I would 110% tell ESPN or whoever told me that, oh, they're gonna give me credit for it. I'd be like, no, she's taking credit for it. She's the one who did it. Sure, I'll talk about it, but she's the one who did it. But Jared Porter, you're my toast of the week. You are pretty much everything that's wrong with this industry, and it's very nice to see you get put out so swiftly.
Yeah, we talked about this with Christian, our the intern for the Tandemonium Sports Show, because he's a Mets guy, and he was like, he's like, yeah, it had to be done. He made a big blockbuster trade that brought in some good players to the Mets, but you can't keep a guy like that around. When that comes to like, no matter what he's done for your organization in the short amount of time he's been there. And unfortunately, he probably will get another job. I'd be surprised if he didn't. And nothing like a general manager or even what he was with the Cubs. I don't think people realize how huge organizations in baseball are. Like, they
Mhm.
are massive. And so it's going to be so easy. He's probably got connections somewhere that he can easily get into the scouting department with another organization and just kind of get tucked away, and it be super quiet, and nobody's going to know the difference. He can just go back and scout, what he did with the Cubs. Maybe not to the degree what he did to the Cubs, and probably will never be a general manager again, but he will probably have a nice cushy position somewhere in the minors for the rest of his life, scouting high schoolers and college kids or
Yep.
whatever. Uh, where did mine go? Crap.
That's okay. But yeah, I'm happy though that the Mets were able to do this swiftly. But I tell you what, we want to talk about second chances. Uh, yeah, I'm just gonna talk about something and give you guys something while Jackson finds his
Yeah, go
toast
for
of
it.
the week. So
Where did it go?
if anybody, if like guys around sports definitely get second chances. I tell you what, if a guy like Chris Furster gets a second chance, now going to the 49ers coaching staff. I'm sure everyone remembers Chris Foerster, the Miami Dolphins coach that had a white powdery substance on his desk and had explicit text messages to a stripper or prostitute, whatever she was in that scenario. Listen, if that guy gets a second chance, yeah, there's a lot of people that will get second chances. It's sad to say, but really the only thing that won't get you second chances in the sports industry is probably being accused of murder, i.e. O.J. Simpson.
Yeah.
That's probably really it. I mean, unless you do something really, really, really bad, but he'll probably end up getting another job, unfortunately. But as long as he's out of the spotlight, he'll become an afterthought. But that is speaks to bigger issues that need to somehow be solved. I can tell you how you solve them. Just treat everyone like your coworker instead of your weird fantasies or whatever the hell these people got going on. I don't know.
Bro, I cannot find what I picked, and I had something written out too. That's annoying. You can tell I'm fully prepared for this. Oh, there it is. I found it.
Okay. There we go.
Okay, so yeah. So my toast of the week. I talked about it earlier in the show because I was trying to think because there was like a tag or something that I had. I finally found it. Already talked about them, but it's a dual toast of the week, and that is. Yeah, two-sided. One's got butter, one's got jelly on it, but it's just. I like it. But it's like old, like cold butter. You left it in the fridge too long.
Oh, now
so
I don't
tears up your piece.
No, I don't like it.
No. But it's Kurt Warner and Colin Cowherd for their takes about the playoffs. So in case I'm sure you probably heard about them.
Yeah.
But Kurt Warner goes on and says that all playoff games should be played indoors in a dome, not outside, because we didn't get to see the best football from Lamar Jackson and the Ravens because that Buffalo wind was affecting them. And then I'll get to Cowherd here in a second. But first off, Kurt, my guy, listen, the only 2 times you were good in your career is when you played in a dome. So that's probably why you're biased. Mm-hmm. You won a Super Bowl with the Rams. Greatest show on turf. Went to another one, lost it. Went to one with the Cardinals. Lost it to the Steelers. And when you were with the Giants, you kind of sucked.
Got his job taken by Eli.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's why they moved on from you. So I think you're just biased, man. You don't like the New York weather, so what? And it's just a thing. Enjoying football outside is fun. And kudos to the Bills. If the Ravens didn't want to play in the terrible conditions that were in Buffalo, the super windy conditions, how about this? Win some football games in the regular season, you get the number 2 seed, and then Buffalo has to come to you to play. And you don't got to go to Buffalo. It was just a stupid, awful take. Because then we don't get to see the beautiful snowy fields of Lambeau. Because I honestly think snow in Lambeau, Packers playing, that's like some classic football. When I think of football in December and January, that's the image that pops to my mind. And then Cowherd on the other end, he's same but different. He's saying that the NFL should postpone the AFC Championship game because Patrick Mahomes may not be 100% healthy. So does that mean that like when Brady was injured all those years ago, when his leg was snapped in half and he's the reason you can't hit a quarterback below the knees now, should they just scrub that season? Should they bring all the players back? Like, should Mike Vrabel like turn in his coach headset and put his pads on and report back to Bill to go out there and play linebacker? Like what are we doing here? And like even this season, even with COVID, there wasn't necessarily precedent for canceling games. The 49ers had to roll up there with a practice squad. The Broncos had to use a practice squad wide receiver to play quarterback, to the point where like even the other team was feeling bad that they were winning the game, because it's like, this isn't fair. It's like, this dude can't play quarterback. It's like, I feel bad. I'm gonna take the interception. I'm gonna take the dub, but I'm gonna feel bad. I ain't gonna feel too good about myself. You can't pander to that. Someone getting hurt, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. And if we go with that logic, it doesn't stop anywhere. They should have postponed the NBA finals when Kyrie and KD went down a few years back then. You know, they should have canceled the season when LeBron got hurt and wasn't able to get into the playoffs. They should have stopped the season. It's like, LeBron's the best player in the league. We got to stop. We got to wait. Everybody put on pause. I'm sorry. That's not the way the world works. If Colin Cowherd was to get sick and he can't make it to the herd, you know what they do? They find someone to replace him and they continue on with their programming. All of Fox Sports and Fox Sports Radio isn't going to stop if Colin Cowherd gets the sniffles. The NFL is going to continue to play football games, even if Patrick Mahomes cannot play, even if he clears concussion protocol and he's not 100%. And we got to say, freaking Chad Henne, the legend of Miami and Michigan, Chad Henne, roll out there and try to beat that Buffalo defense, which he would not. We still have to watch that. Do I want Mahomes healthy? Yeah, because I want the best football possible. I want to see Mahomes and Allen duel it out on a Sunday evening while I'm sitting back, eating a sandwich or something. But come on, guys. That's just terrible. Those are some terrible, terrible takes. Just stop with it.
Hands down. Worst takes I've ever heard in my damn life. I'm 24 years old. That's a lot of that. That's a lot of years for some. That is horrible. Horrible. Cowherd, on Cowherd's logic, the MLB should never have a season because Judge is hurt every year for an extended period of time. So the MLB should just stop playing baseball altogether because Judge gets hurt for like 3 months out of the year. They should just stop playing. The Yankees should just pack it in and stop playing with that logic. Okay, that's ridiculous. Ridiculous. That is, at that point, that's league. That is player over league, and you can't have that. Okay, I get Patrick Mahomes is the golden boy. I understand that he's a ratings getter. I understand that he is the future of the NFL, and not even the future of the NFL. He is the NFL. I get that. Yeah. I get that. He's what you want to put on TV. I understand. But I'm sorry. The Shield is still bigger than Patrick Mahomes. Okay? You guys would still be the best viewership getting sport in the United States of America if Patrick Mahomes didn't exist. You would still be that league. Okay, so because if he's not healthy, which honestly I think he will because I've seen him practicing today, so I don't know, but we'll see. Anyway, if he didn't play, just because he didn't play doesn't mean you got to postpone the game. That is ridiculous. It's not going to happen. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life, and I never want to hear anything like that again because you know what? So the 2018 Eagles, they won the Super Bowl. Carson Wentz towards ACL. Should they have just stopped the season and waited for his ACL to heal up? I mean, hell, they probably wouldn't have won the Super Bowl then because they wouldn't have had all that magic behind Nick Foles that one year, which, actually made them really, really dumb later down the line. Yeah. But anyway, I digress. Kurt Warner. Okay. Kurt, at this point, to me, you just seem like an old man yelling at the clouds. That's exactly what you are. You're just sitting there screaming at clouds. You want every NFL game to be played in a dome. Where's the home field advantage? Why even get home field advantage if that's the case? What's the point of that? So you're telling me if you're the Giants, the Packers, who else doesn't play in a dome? I don't know. Oh, the 49ers. So if you're any of these teams without a dome, the Chiefs, if you don't have a dome, you don't get to play at home for the playoffs. Yeah, okay. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
What's the point of going so hard in the regular season?
You
Like,
might as well just send it in.
what's
Might as well just dog it the whole time. I mean,
yeah.
what's the issue? As long as you go 11-5 and get a playoff spot, who cares? At that point, I mean, come on, that's ridiculous. I've never heard of such a thing. I mean, I don't care where the game's played. It's still probably going to be a great game. I don't care if Buffalo wind is going howling left and that was great. That was awesome. You know, it's the weather is a factor in football. That's just how it is. It's a factor. It's one of the biggest factors that there is. It's why home field advantage is so important because the Bills were used to that type of weather. Maybe not used to the type of wind that was going on, but they're used to that weather. So that's why they played well. And the Ravens, I mean, they're not from a warm climate necessarily. I mean, they're only in Maryland. It's not like Maryland is South Carolina, so it's not like it's hot. I mean, but still, that's why the Bills performed well and the Ravens didn't. But you want to look at other teams. We could go back to the 2007 NFC Championship game. I'm only bringing this up because I remember it fondly, and it brings me very, very happy memories when my team was good. If you go to 2007 NFC Championship game, Brett Favre versus Eli Manning in Lambeau Field. It was so cold that there was people in the stands with icicles coming out of their nose. Like it looked like a cartoon. And you had these two quarterbacks just slinging the ball all over the place. You knew that their hands were freezing, but they just still played. It was an awesome game to watch. It was freezing cold. It was just a mess of a game. Kickers missing kicks, turnovers left and right. But it was a hell of a game, and it was a great game. And the Giants ended up winning. The road team went up and beat the Packers in Lambeau in weather that they were supposed to be really, really used to. Like, I'm sorry, but that just if that game was in a dome, where's the fun? Where's the fun in seeing fans with icicles in their nose? Mm-hmm. With a stadium still packed. It's like 10 degrees outside.
The pride that you as the away team walked into Lambeau Field in, sub-zero weather and heavy snow, and you're the one that came out with the win.
Exactly.
Like there'd be no pride if it was like a neutral site game.
Like that's terrible. Like okay. That's why we got the Super Bowl, because the Super Bowl is a neutral site. Like that's fine because the Super Bowl is more of, I mean, like it's an event and one game elimination. Yeah, sure. It should be on a neutral site and one game eliminations, but not all throughout the playoffs. That's ridiculous. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Kurt Warner, do me a favor. Please shut your mouth. Colin Cowherd, also do me another favor. Please shut your mouth. Now, let me move on before I get too angry and then I can't go to sleep tonight. I'll move on to my prediction next week. Who will be the toast next week? Well, I'll tell you one thing. It ain't going to be the Buffalo Bills. It's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid. I don't care if Patrick Mahomes plays or not. I am sorry. I said this in my game preview of the AFC Championship game. Here's the reason that the Bills are going to win. You know why? The Bills are the team of destiny. The team of destiny, for people that think I'm just spewing a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo right now, is actually a real thing. Go and look at the history of the NFL. There have been plenty of teams that have won the Super Bowl and went on these magical runs when they really weren't that great during the regular season. And yeah, of course they're a good team. You got to be good to get to the Super Bowl and win, but they weren't on paper, even, as far as talent wise, they weren't better than the guys that they played, but they still won. You go 07 Giants, easy as David versus Goliath matchup we've ever had, undefeated Patriots against the last wild card that snuck into the playoffs, and the Giants won that. 2011, almost the same thing. Giants sneak into the playoffs with the 4 seed, beat the Patriots again in the Super Bowl. 2018 Eagles, not that great of a team, but run through the playoffs, get to the Super Bowl, beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. It's funny how the Patriots are at the other end
Yeah,
of this every time because that's definitely what happens. Now,
noticing a trend.
noticing a trend, but the Patriots aren't here this time. But still, the Bills are a team of destiny. It's just got that feel. You got a whole city behind this team. They are rallying. Bills Mafia is rallying behind the Bills. So I'm sorry, but I think the Chiefs are in trouble. I really do. I think the Bills have it in them to pull it off and beat them. Even last week, I was giving bold predictions left and right that the Browns were going to win that game, and you know what? They came real damn close. They came real damn
They
close.
did.
Can't take much away from them there. They came close, but I think the Bills
They
are
they
going
had
to
a chance. They had a chance with like 4 minutes left to drive down the field, and they stalled out.
No, they did. They did. Listen, they fought. Hey, they fought. It's the Kansas City Chiefs. You're playing them in Arrowhead Stadium. You know, you're gonna. It ain't an easy game to win. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll tell you that.
I've been to Arrowhead for a preseason game, and it gets wild for a preseason
Yeah.
game. But I still got the Chiefs moving on, just because it's the Chiefs, and it's just they're such a juggernaut. But I did write an article that there is no fan base more deserving of a Super Bowl than Bills Mafia. So I'm always like in my heart of hearts, I'm always going to root for Bills Mafia, which is weird being a Dolphins fan. You wouldn't think I'd do that, but they're just such nice people, man. They're cool.
Yeah,
I've
they really are.
interacted with some of them before on Twitter, all super chill, and it's just like there's some cool people. They do some cool things, and yeah, if they were to beat the Chiefs and go on to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl, I'd be a happy guy. I'd be happy to be wrong with my Super Bowl predictions if it's the Bills running away with it. But you know, for my toast prediction, you know, I got to keep rocking with Rodgers, man. I think he's going to have another big week.
Yep.
I think Brady, I think, you know, the honeymoon gets cut short here. You know, I don't think he gets back to the Super Bowl. I didn't see anything from the earlier matchup between these two teams as more of anything as just like a bad day at the office, because literally that's the only game out of the year where Rodgers did not play good. Like he was bad
Yeah.
that game. And Rodgers has either been really good or fantastic literally the other 15 games of the season, and of course his time in the playoffs so far. I don't see anybody slowing the Packers down. I know there's been some questions about their run game, but it's Leonard Fournette is who they're going to be. Ronald Jones, I think, is still supposed to be hurt, so they'll just have to worry about Leonard Fournette. And yeah, they got a lot of weapons. The Bucks do, and that could give them some challenges. But I think the weather will play something fierce in it. And then, of course, I do believe that there is such a thing that the experience of Rodgers and some of the other Packers who have been in this situation before, I think that carries some weight because the Bucks have never been in this position before. You want to talk about Mike Evans? Never been in this position. Leonard Fournette definitely has never been in this position.
No.
A lot of other dudes going to have some nerves. And even though Brady has been there 100 times before, it feels like I still just see the Green Bay 12 coming over the TB 12 in this one, and he will discount and double check his way all the way down to Tampa for a Super Bowl.
Hey, Raj, discount double check. Love that commercial. Yeah, the Bills Packers is my pick for the Super Bowl and Bills to win. So I've stayed alive up until the Final Four. So I'm gonna roll with it. Don't change it now. Don't fix nothing that ain't broke. So we'll stick with that pick, and hopefully I'm right. And the Bills Packers meet in the Super Bowl and Bills win. But until then, it was a great episode, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video. And right now, well, I don't know when this video goes up. Maybe our site comes back, hopefully. But our site is down right now, so YouTube is really the only thing we got at the moment. So come check us out. We're gonna have a lot of content being put out on YouTube next this week. So yeah, come check us out, and don't forget to subscribe when you watch the video. And to everyone out there, stay toasty.